evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you here tonight. How many of you have ever taken a college class where you read and studied the works of 19th century Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard? Raise your hands. Well, I did, and nearly 40 years later, I still have no idea what the concept of existentialism means. Yes, that's right, I don't. But never did I think I would be on a public stage quoting him and saying his words, as shared with me by a dear friend. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. How many times have you looked back and thought that after you had unsuccessfully attempted a new task, that you could look back and wished you could do it again? It's easy to be smart after the fact when you know the result. But it takes courage to face change when you have no idea what the outcome will be. In my life as a dancer, educator, and caregiver, I learned 3 valuable lessons about growing, learning, and embracing change. The first is we do not learn on our own. Our families and our friends support us, challenge us, and help us find our authentic voices. Learning is a gift, and as long as we are open to it, we will continue to grow and flourish. And third, embracing change can be challenging, but it can help us find our own authentic voice. When I was a child, I found a caterpillar, and I built a home so that I could watch it grow into a butterfly. But before it could even become a chrysalis, it was stone. And my mother comforted me by telling me the amazing, magical process of how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. I never forgot her story, and I spent my childhood chasing butterflies, hoping that one day I would spread my wings and fly just like them. My mother supported my dream, and she made sure that I had all the usual childhood butterfly adventures. I never realized how important this was because they helped me when I supported my students later in life and watched them spread their wings to fly. My mother loved to tell the story of when I was born. My father said, "Let's have fun educating the baby." And together, they made sure that I transformed from a wide-eyed, laughing baby into a fully grown human who was ready to embrace all the changes the world could offer. The first lessons that they signed me up for were ballet classes. They were hard, and I was shy, and I did not interact well with my classmates. It was some years before we found the right teacher and the right community to help me encourage my love of learning in dance. This was important because I did not love learning in school, and my parents wanted to be sure that I had experiences that would help me grow. I was the first in my family to go to college and earn a degree. My mother liked telling the educating the baby story at that time because they wanted me to go to college and get a safe degree and get a secure job. I was a history major because I had a passion for the subject, but it in no way prepared me for a traditional profession. I struggled to get my head around what my career would be as I approached graduation, but my parents supported me as I completed my undergraduate studies. And then I took a pause, and I went and I studied abroad in Spain, hoping to learn through a different cultural lens how new ways of learning and understanding my world. My life and plans paused with the passing of my father. I got a traditional job in higher education, and I comforted my mother. But I fell back on the old lessons that I learned, and I returned to dance. And it was wonderful. I felt such comfort in the repetition and discipline of dance. Eventually, I returned to my dreams of living overseas and pursuing my graduate studies and returning to my life as an educator. I formed around myself a chrysalis so that I could be secure in my learning and growing process as I prepare for the greater adventure ahead. Like a butterfly's wings, that grow and are strengthened as they come out of the chrysalis. If we use the strengths that we've learned through our education, we can face all changes bravely. And that's what I did as I faced the greatest transformation of my life. I lived overseas, and my cousin, who was living with my mother at the time, expressed her concerns of my mother's growing erratic behavior. There were hallucinations, and I really didn't understand what was happening. I was living a happy and successful life, doing work that I loved in a community that I embraced, and I was certain that I would be finishing my career in the UK. But on one of my visits home, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And it was estimated that she'd have about 18 months to live. And life began to change fast. The Alzheimer's Association tells us that Alzheimer's disease is a brain disease in the same way that coronary artery disease is a heart disease. It is caused by damage to the neurons in the brain. And these neurons are essential to everyday living, including thinking, talking, and walking. It kills more people than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. And the Alzheimer's Association estimates that nearly 7 million Americans in 2024 were living with Alzheimer's. And 11 million were acting as unpaid caregivers. 70% of caregivers say that coordinating care is stressful, and 74% say that they're concerned about maintaining their own health as a caregiver. I never imagined that I would become part of these statistics. 18 months became 11 years. And I knew that I didn't know how to be a caregiver, but I knew that I knew how to be caring. People told me that I wouldn't be able to care for my mother, that I should put her in a nursing home, and that I should move on with my life. And for a moment, I believed that that advice was what I should do. Instead, I followed my heart, and I trusted all the lessons that I had learned, and I embraced the changes that I needed to make to care for her. The most difficult day was one day when my mother said to me, "I think there's something wrong with my brain. Should I go to a doctor?" I took her hand and I assured her that she was already receiving medication for her condition. And she looked me straight in the eye, knew that I was trying to help, and we never spoke of it again. We eventually found a doctor who was a specialist with Alzheimer's patients. He spoke to Mom in Spanish, and he encouraged her desire for ice cream, even though she was diabetic. He encouraged us to put her in hospice care in our home, even though he knew the word hospice could be terrifying because it indicated that the end was imminent. But he reassured us that it could help her extend her life. That's when we met our incredible hospice team, who gently guided us through a slightly longer than 5-year journey. Professional caregivers trained me to be able to give my mother daily care. And as long as I was open to that learning experience, I knew that I could care for her in the twilight of her life. As long as I was supported by my family, my friends, and medical staff, who became my angels. Together, we began the long goodbye, and Mother began to do things for the final time, until the final thing she was able to do was hold my hand as she took her last breath. In the 1997 Disney film, Pooh's Grand Adventure, Christopher Robin says to Pooh, "You are braver than you believe, you are stronger than you seem, and you are smarter than you think. But the most important thing is, even if we're apart, I'll always be with you." I could hear my mom saying to me that she had always believed in and supported me as long as I kept the lessons that she had given me close to my mind and heart. My transformation from educator to caregiver was difficult, but my mother was a firm believer in education, and so it was no surprise that I started my journey in education. Like my mother, I believe that education was a gift and that it was most important for us to learn how to move forward in life. I am the product of all the people I learned from, including first and foremost my mother. But what I learned was my students, the lessons that I gave them, helped me learn what I needed to become the caregiver that she needed. Every student that I taught me how to be my mother's caregiver. As I look back on my life, I feel that it is like the stages of the metamorphosis of a butterfly. And so, as I look back and I move as a caterpillar out of the chrysalis and become the butterfly through courage, grace, and strength, I will spread my own authentic wings and dance to the rhythm of my own authentic voice for myself and others. Be brave, be kind, be the best that you can be. And let me ask you all this. What did you learn today to change your stars? Gracias a todos, and thank you.